Welcome back to the Crusader Coaches Show here on Country 93.1, live from Pints and Courts Pub and Grill, Muskegon. My name is Matt Chapkus, joined by Steve Zerwan, the head coach of the Muskegon Catholic Central Crusaders. And we want to thank Pints and Courts and the Harris family for stepping up and coming through to host this show for us. This is actually our first ever Crusader Coaches Show, and we're planning on doing this every Wednesday from 7 to 8 here at Pints and Courts. A couple things Pints and Courts has going on. Every day of the week they got something good going on, but buy one, get one free hamburgers Monday from 4 to close. Thursday night is happy hour from 3 to close with half off appetizers, and every day happy hour till 7 p.m. And $1 off signature burgers, martinis, $1 off pints of beer, and $2 well drinks are the specials here at Pints and Courts. Again, we'll be here every Wednesday from 7 to 8, and Coach Steve Zerwan, team coming off the loss to the Mona Shores Sailors, looking ahead to Grand Rapids Catholic Central. And I just want to see, what did you learn about them from taking a look at the footage from their game? They lost to East Grand Rapids last week.
Yeah, they played a real quality team in East Grand Rapids. You know, a team that's a perennial state power. So I don't know if the score is really indicative of. They lost 24-7. But again, I don't think the score is really indicative of their team. You know, that's a team that last year that they blew out on East Grand Rapids home field. So, we know they're a dangerous team, and you know, you're sitting there with two very proud programs that are both 0-1 right now. And I think both teams are going to be very hungry for a win. And, I think the team that really, can step up their intensity on Friday night, going to be a team with an advantage, quite frankly. So we talked about that all week with the players. You know, you're 0-1, they're 0-1. You know, we need to, I'm not saying there's desperation, but there's definitely both teams know what's at stake, because it's definitely better to be 1-1 to start the season than 0-2.
Last year, it was a similar situation for you guys. You were 0-1 coming off that loss to Mona Shores, and it was a 14-0 Grand Rapids Catholic Central Cougar win last year. How different is that Cougar team this year from the squad last year? How many guys did they lose?
You know, a couple things to note about that. We were just, you're going through and you look at the roster. You know, we thought they were very senior-oriented last year. And some of their big play receivers, Raheem Stokes comes to mind. He left. He's playing at Ferris State now. But looking at it, they're still starting 10 seniors on offense this year. So, wow. A school like that, they just kind of graduate kids, but they have juniors waiting in the wings to get their opportunity. And, that's the way good programs do it. They have people biding their time and waiting for their chance. So they're starting 10 seniors on offense. All their offensive linemen are back. One break we kind of caught was their running back from last year actually transferred out of there. He's playing at Grand Rapids Christian now, and we thought he was a pretty good player. Okay. So, I think that's good for us. I don't think the kid they're playing is quite of the same quality. And then defensively, they have a standout defensive end at number 32, Alex Hicks, and he's somebody that we are concerned about, and we've got a couple different ways to block him, a couple different ways to, quite frankly, run in the direction he's not in, and that's something we have to worry about when they're on defense and we're on offense.
Now, offensively, what kind of package are they bringing?
They are a spread team. They're going to be shotgun pretty much the whole game. They're going to be shotgun one back. They're going to be shotgun empty, no back. And they run what's kind of called a zone scheme. The offensive line kind of steps in a direction, and they hand to the running back, and the running back kind of looks for a cut. And the quarterback's very capable. He was the quarterback last year on a team that went 10-0 before they lost their 11th game last year. So, we know he has some leadership qualities, and we know he's a good player who's been tested in some Division IV playoff games. So, he also starts on linebacker for him. So anytime you take a quarterback who also starts on linebacker, he's probably a tough kid, and he's probably definitely one of the leaders on the team. So again, we've just devised different schemes this week to prepare for that. Those teams that are shotgun. And basically, while they're shotgun, they're not necessarily a pass-first team. They like to run the ball, but they like to spread you out before they run the ball. So those are the kind of things that we've had to deal with this week in preparing for them.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question about how you actually do this coaching, because you're starting 9 guys both ways. Are you putting all those starters out on the defense and then having your backups kind of try and run the GRCC, kind of simulate their offense, or how are you working through that this week?
That's kind of how it works. I mean, every week we have I can't say enough about the guys that are on the team that maybe they kind of know the first couple weeks with these real tough games they're not going to get the playing time that maybe anticipated, but we have guys that are really dedicated to the team and like being part of it. And one of my jobs is the other 3 coaches on the staff, Scott Fedrosi, Mike Rebecki, and Colin Convertini, they run the defense. And my job during practice is to run the scout team.
Okay.
So those 3 are over there, and they're putting the scheme together and executing. It's my job to get the guys that aren't on defense to execute Grand Rapids Catholic's offense this week. And our guys do a heck of a job, and there's not much in it for them, when they're not getting on the field. But again, it's a testament to how team-oriented they are, and the fact they love being Crusaders, and they love being out there with their friends every week.
Now, did you play quarterback?
I did play quarterback. Yep.
How much, when you look at a spread team like that and you got to dig through their playbook a little bit, how much do you look back and say, man, if I could have played something like this when I was in high school, this would have been a totally different looking team?
It's not the system I was brought up in playing at Catholic Central. I mean,
right.
It's not what we did then. It's not what we do now. I don't know. I have some friends that ask me about that too, that same question. I say, I don't know. I mean, the system you play in is the system you play in. You try to do the best job you can in that system. So there's no doubt football's changed in the last even 15 years. And teams are definitely trying to go into, some wider sets. And a lot of that's done just to get people out of the box to even run the ball more. But, I guess I don't think about that too much being 36 now. I guess my job is to worry about getting the Crusaders ready every week.
Now, they do say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Do you ever, as you're going through the scout plays, just maybe nab one in case you need something down the road?
I think what every coach does is you look at the team that played against them and what worked.
Okay.
So when we looked at the East Grand Rapids film, we were definitely well aware of the things that worked against Grand Rapids Catholic and things that didn't. So I think that for us, just we're really flexible in the system we run, and we have the ability, we feel, every week to kind of do some different things. We definitely studied what East Grand Rapids did, and you can, if not run the same exact plays, you can kind of run some of the same schemes. And hopefully have some of the same results that the team prior to you had.
Okay, talk a little bit about the Cougars defensively. What kind of defensive front are you looking at when you play against them, and what are they showing to you?
Yeah, they're a base 5-3, meaning they have base 5-3, meaning they have 5 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and then 3 defensive backs, which play primarily pass. And they're a team that likes to stay in the 5-3. They, no matter what formations you give them, they really ultimately want to be in that 5-3. And play football from there. There are a few things you can do to get them into, kind of a 4-2 set, and they've got to adjust to trips when you give them that. But for the most part, they play a 5-3 gap-oriented team where, you got 8 people up front, and each one has a gap, and, one's going to be in one gap and one's going to be in the other. Sometimes you don't know which one's going to show up where. And like I said before, I can't say enough about this Alex Hicks they have at defensive end. He's an excellent player. We felt last year he was their best player by a lot, and it was on our minds last year when we played him, knowing that he's back, and come week 2, well, he is back, and we've got to face him. So, he's just an excellent player, and we've got to do our best to block him and to be smart, when we do go at him.
Okay. How do you attack a team that's running a 5-3 defense? I mean, what are you looking for out of your team this week as far as execution?
Well, you're looking to, if first of all, if you can handle their people interiorly, and then if you can kick out their ends, you've just got some base blocking schemes that can work. We've made a few adjustments for our base plays just to, to be able to take advantage of the fact that they have 8 in the box, where we're trying to add an extra guy to the box to make sure that we get a hat on everybody. And again, you're always looking for ways that, to put them in a bind. So if you give them 3 receivers to one side, what are they going to do? If you spread them out a little bit, it gets them out of their comfort zone a little bit. We've got, with Alex, we feel a pretty nice explosive fullback, and, we can take advantage of that A gap sometimes in there, which the 5-3 is just can be at times a little weak on. And, I guess you start with that. I guess in your head as a coach, you do have certain plays that you like against certain defenses. So I guess you kind of just each week you kind of conjure those things up, and those are the things that you want to kind of go with because you've had success in the past running those things.
Now, Coach, one of the things you mentioned to me during the break was it's a little bit different because you played Thursday of last week, and it's Friday game this week, so it's an 8-day gap instead of your traditional 7-day gap. How has that changed how you set up the schedule for getting the team ready for this game?
Monday's usually our day we do scouting report, and we, it's not kind of our as Jack Sugars of Oak Ridge used to say, it wasn't one of your hard work days. This week, we kind of came in Friday. We played the game that went, pretty late on Thursday night. We came in Friday morning and talked about the game. We watched some film. We stretched out. We ran. Did a little bit of a scouting report because the coaches actually met. We were up there 8 o'clock on Friday morning meeting and trying to give the kids. We knew they were coming in to try to tell them a few things about the team we were going to be playing. It just happens that fast. 10 hours later, you got to put the previous game behind you and worry about what's going on next week. And, so I guess with the longer week, I look at it, we almost got an extra day of practice on Monday.
Okay.
Because it was Labor Day, but we still practiced in the evening. And, we had a kind of a day which I guess would be considered like our Tuesday practice schedule on Monday. So it kind of gave us an extra day, but at the same time, when you've got so many, you've got a roster that has 26 people and you've got so many playing both ways, there's a limitation of what you want to do. You can fatigue your players in practice. And quite frankly, it's just it's a probability thing. The more hard plays you run in practice, the more chance there is for injury. And, it's one thing to get somebody hurt in a game, but it's another thing to get somebody hurt in practice when, you feel like that's an element an area you can control. So you kind of got to walk a fine line with that.
All right, that is Coach Steve Zerwan of the Muskegon Catholic Central Crusaders. He's joining us here on Country 93.1 for the Coaches Show. We're going to do this every week on Wednesday nights from 7 to 8 here at Pines and Court. So if you got a chance, we'll be here for about another 20-25 minutes. You can stop on by. They got some great meals. They got great drinks here as well, and just great company with Steve and I here talking a little bit about the football of the Muskegon Catholic Central Crusaders. And, Coach, I guess what are going to be your 3 keys for this game against Grand Rapids Catholic Central coming up this week?
Yeah, I think the key you go into every game is you want to win up front. And you want to be more physical than the other team on your offensive line, and you want to be more physical on your defensive line. And, we talked a little bit briefly about how the game has changed, and it has changed a little bit in schemes, but there really is no substitute. I don't feel at high school ball, there's absolutely no substitute for being more physical, to being stronger up front than the other team. So, we definitely want to be the aggressor up front and be a little stronger. We think we know we have to establish a little bit of a passing game. I don't know if we did a great job against Mona Shores, but then again in the first half, I don't know if we needed to.
Right.
And I'd like to maybe get us throwing a little bit earlier against Grand Rapids Catholic, and we feel there's some things they do defensively that we can take advantage of throwing. And, it's one thing to say you want to do those things, and we were talking after practice, but, when the running game's going good, are you going to call a pass?
Right.
And, some teams, they just call a pass every other play, and that's their offense. Well, our offense is, we don't like to be put in 3rd and long situations. We don't like to throw an incomplete pass on 1st and 10 and all of a sudden be 2nd and 10. That's not our game. It's never been our game at Muskegon Catholic. So, I think establishing a little bit of a passing game, and we have the quarterback who can do it, and winning the game up front. You mentioned 3. Those are really the 2 things that we're looking to do. And then, thirdly, we've gotten a few other players ready this week who can, give us some substitutions in key spots.
Okay.
And, just looking at last week, we just felt it was something that we had to do. If somebody needs 3 plays off on one side of the ball or something, we've got to have some people on our roster that are able to give them a break and come in and perform, competently. And, we feel we've gotten a few of those guys ready. So, hopefully come Friday, they're up to the task of doing that.
Now, you say you're getting these guys ready. Is it just a matter of them being more aware of what's going on around them on the field so they don't get hurt? How do you get a guy ready?
You get them ready by you're giving them more reps in practice.
Okay.
And you give them more reps in practice with that first team offense or first team defense. And, and part of that is you as coaches, you start to build trust in that player. Well, maybe that kid can make that play. Maybe he can get aligned properly. And, there's a huge element of trust that the coaches have to be able to – there's certain kids you trust and certain kids you don't quite know.
Okay.
And, you've got to be willing to put a kid in, when the game's on the line that you trust. And that's just about everything when it comes down to coaching. So, and part of that also in giving them reps with the first team is getting them more confidence. So it kind of goes both ways. The coach building trust in the player, but then also the player gaining more confidence that when he's in, he can do the job that he's asked to do.
All right, final question. Did you ever play against Grand Rapids Catholic Central when you were in high school?
I did. It actually is, and it will be, as far as my understanding. The last game we played against them was my senior year was in '94, and we played them to a 0-0 tie.
No kidding.
And it was a It was a complete and total. It had rained heavily the 2 days prior, and the field was in. Our field's made improvements in the last 15 years. It's still not great, but it was real bad back there in the 80s and 90s, and the field was just a quagmire pretty much, and neither team really could get any footing, and it rained off and on during the game, but the field was the bigger problem, and it ended up being a 0-0 game, and we had no clue kind of as players. I guess I knew. I guess Coach Holmes told me those kind of things before, because back then the rule was the coaches decided if there was going to be overtime or not.
Oh, really?
And you decided before the game, and both coaches had to agree to play overtime. And if one coach didn't want to, you didn't play. You didn't do it. And there was a different playoff system back then. So sometimes to us it was to our advantage. Just take the tie against a bigger school, and it helped you with the playoff points.
Okay.
As far as getting in. So we went out, we played the game, and it ended up being 0-0, and it was to say the least, it felt like a loss.
Yeah.
I mean, you leave there, you didn't win, and that's what you tried to do all week was have a win, and it was. Again, it was just 0-0, and so they've changed the rule that you have to have a winner now, and you have to go to overtime. So, as far as I know, until they change the rules, that game will be the last tie in Muskegon area history.
No kidding. Well, there you go. Little nugget of information and trivia for you from Coach Steve Zerwan and the Muskegon Catholic Central Crusaders. Coach, we got Alex Lewandowski here. We're going to take a 3-minute break, and we'll bring Alex on, talk to him for a little while. But one of your captains on the team, and just a good kid to have on your team, and we're excited to have him here on the show with us coming up in just a few minutes. Steve Zerwan, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks, and I appreciate you guys setting the show up, and we'll be here all year.
All right, we'll take a 3-minute break. Be back here on Country 93.1.